So first we got Bat Squatch.
Nice.
So he's from Washington. I love him. He was sighted in the 80s, and he's only been sighted a few times. And he's got yellow eyes. He's got a wolf muzzle, blue-gray fur, fangs, bird-like feet, and bat-like wings that span up to 50 feet. And he's also 9 feet tall, so he's terrifying. And he was also sighted near Mount Shasta, California in 2009. So he's malevolent, but nobody knows exactly how. Also, we got the Loveland Frogman. Love him. He's been seen twice, only twice, both in March 1972, both by policemen. So the first time it was 1 a.m. on March 3rd, 1972, off of Riverside Road in Ohio. He's about 60 pounds, 3 to 4 feet tall. He's got textured skin, and it says face of a frog or lizard, but his name is the Frogman, so we're gonna go with the frog. He also was seen the second time on March 17th, 1972. This time he was seen in the middle of the road, like he was like driving in the middle of the night, and he saw this thing in the middle of the road. He thought it was dead, and then it stood up, and it was 4 feet tall, and then it ran at him. So that was really fun. Also, these police officers both got clowned by their stations because nobody believed them. And last we've got the huma bird. It lives its entire life in the sky from birth to death. It only lands to eat bones. It lays its eggs in the air, and then as they fall to the ground, they hatch. So the birds can fly up to their mother, that's spelled wrong, to their mother, before they can hit the ground. So they never touch the ground even when they're born. It's called the bird of compassion, the bird of fortune, and the bird of good omen. And if the bird flies over someone's head and it casts a shadow, he will become a king.
Ooh.
All right, hi everyone. I've got the cool creatures. So, the first one is the Kluaitani, which is the spirit of a young woman that haunts wild banana trees. She is said to be green in her complexion, and she wears a traditional tie dress, which is usually some kind of binding and a skirt. It's kind of said in different interpretations whether or not her lower half is like wispy, like a stereotypical ghost would be, or if it's solid legs. But it's said that if you disrespect a banana tree or do anything to a banana tree that you wouldn't normally want to do, that, she'll come and haunt you. Next I have the Baba Yaga, which is in Slavic folklore, and she's basically an old hag who is said to be like a presence of Mother Nature or kind of like an evil witch. She rides around in a mortar, and she uses a pestle as a wand and a flying aid. And there's many different stories saying that, there's some children and they get caught in her house, and there's different items that help the children get out of the house because they helped the items, such as that. Yeah, she's old and gross, and she will eat you. Next, please. The Adze, which is from Ghana, and it is a creature that essentially is a vampire that disguises itself as a firefly. And it is said that if you are bit by this firefly, then you are considered to be a witch because you are possessed. And that is it for the Adze.
Oh boy.
Nice.
So I had claims of truth. So the first one I kind of ran into was the Oedipus complex by Freud. Please don't take this seriously. But this is kind of like, everyone knows the story of Oedipus, right?
Yeah.
Sort of, kind of. Basically, boy separated from family, grows up, falls in love with his mother, kills his mother, things like that. So Freud came up with this theory that there's a stage in life where a child develops. This is around like 3 to 7 years old. This was called his psychosexual stages of development. And a lot of things a lot of theories he had to do with like sex and all kinds of crazy shit. And there's a stage called the phallic stage, again, 3 to 7, where the male child starts to develop sexual desires for his mother, and sort of forms a jealousy or some tension with the father. And that's the same for females, but it's called the Electra complex in this case. But he also said that it could result in the male kind of developing traits from the father and sort of like going after women that are like their mother and things like that. So, next. The next thing that I ran into was the Dogon tribe and the dolphin beings. So the Dogon tribe is a tribe located in Mali in West Africa, and they're very, they live a very like primitive lifestyle. They don't have any technology or any connections with technology, but they have a lot of knowledge of the cosmos and things going on in the universe. They have discovered facts that Westerners haven't discovered yet. And so people go down there and they, research the place and ask them, like, how do they get this information? And they say that they get their information from these beings called the Namos from the Sirius system in the universe. And they come by sea. They come up to the shore and they give them information about the cosmos. So they learn things like where Sirius B is, which is a star, and the fact that Jupiter has 4 major moons, and the fact that Saturn has rings, things like that. Information that wasn't discovered by Westerners until the telescope was invented. So that's something really cool. Next, the last thing I kind of researched, this is kind of like a practice, self-scarification. There are a lot of religions in Africa that practice this, and tribes and stuff, and they use this to kind of identify themselves and gender, what tribe you're in, your lifestyle, all kinds of shit. There's even a tribe in New Guinea that initiates people by cutting up their chest and their backs and butts with bamboo sticks. And it's basically, if you endure that, it basically, they're trying to see if you can hang, pretty much. Like, like if you have the strength and self-discipline to undergo that and come out triumphant. They also see this as a way to kind of connect themselves to the spiritual realm too, kind of like shed you of your physical and emotional ties to the physical world. You sort of get it opens the gateway to that spiritual world, they think. And it also, they say that it makes them more attractive too. There are males that do this in order to look more sexually attractive to women, because if you have these scars, then that means like you're strong and you have a lot of self-discipline and stuff. If not, you're like a wimp. So yeah, that's it.
Okay, guys. Hey. So my first one that I found is Nemesis, which is the Greek goddess of vengeance, basically. She's the daughter of Nyx and Erebos, which are like primordial? Is that a word?
Primordial.
That word. Beings of like chaos. And there's this story that, there's a couple of different stories about where Helen of Troy came from, but this is probably one of my favorites. Because this one says that Nemesis was her mother, and Zeus was her father, because Zeus basically fell in love with Nemesis. She said, hell no, and basically ran away in the form of a goose. So Zeus met up with Aphrodite and said, hey, I got a plan. He changed into a swan, and Aphrodite changed into an eagle and chased him. So the goose hid with the swan, Zeus hid with the goose, Nemesis. They fell asleep, and he basically raped her in her sleep, and then he ran away. And she, in the form of a goose, laid 2 eggs, and out popped. Some say that Hermes carried the eggs away to Sparta and landed in Leda's lap, which is what a lot of people said her mother is. But there's another story where it's like it's all in a field and the farmer just happens across these eggs. But anyway, the 2 twins are Helen of Troy and Clytemnestra, and then the Dioscuri, which is Castor and Pollux, which are also different stories. Anyway, Loviatar, it's a part of Finnish mythology. She is actually the blind daughter of Tuoni, which is the god of death. She gives birth to 9 sons and diseases, which is diseases. She gives birth to consumption, colic, gout, rickets, ulcer, scab, cancer, plague, and one that is unnamed because it's so bad. We don't know what it is. She's mentioned mostly in the Finnish epic called Kalevala. Apparently she has like this spell battle, this spell contest with the hero Lemminkainen, which sounds kind of fun. My last one, Sekhmet. I love this bitch. She is basically the best story of her. She, at the end of Ra's rule, Ra sends Hadar and Sekhmet to destroy all of the mortals because he's really pissed at them. I don't remember why. And Sekhmet is just bloodlust. She just wants to kill everybody, basically. And at the end of the battle, she was still wanting to kill everyone, so Ra's like, okay, crap, what do I do? So he basically pours out a bunch of beer and throws some red dye in it and says, here, it's blood. She drinks it all, gets too drunk to kill anyone else. And she's often pictured with lions. She's like the head of a lion. Yeah, that's it. And then I had one fun fact next. Just for fun, the Impusai, is a Greek myth. They call it a vampire, but it's more like a cannibal. They say vampire because they prey on the young men's blood, but they actually just eat them whole. So, I mean, I don't... but they're shapeshifters. They seduce young men and then devour them, and they have one brass leg and one donkey leg, and I just think that's hilarious. And then you had one extra that you wanted to throw in there.
So I wanted to put this in because I think it's interesting, but there's a practice called scrying, which is the practice of looking into a reflective surface like a mirror, a crystal ball, or water to contact spirits. And then that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.